Hey y'all, it's your homegirl Ronnika with the Please Do Tell podcast. Back at it like what again? So if you're new here, we've been talking about themes going forward for this podcast, because at first we were doing seasons and it wasn't working for your girl. So I said, you know what? Let me just do a little bit more of what we do, the culture. So now we're just doing stories with themes, and it's been absolutely amazing. But this story time today actually birthed the relaunch of this podcast, because we were actually having dinner and we were talking about really Black women navigating these spaces as either the first, the second, or just the only. And so I want to throw it over to Kyna, but again, this episode is extra special because, this is how it birthed our return. And so the color for today is climbing high, because you know what, that's where we're going, to new heights. So I do want to throw it over to Kyna so she can introduce herself a little bit, and then we'll just hop right into story time. Kyna, what's up, girl?
Hey, RJ, what's going on?
Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself, girl.
So a little bit about myself. So my name is Kyna King, and I am the mother of 5 adult children and the nana of 3 boys who I just absolutely adore.
The cutest.
And I got 3 again, and I call one my little sucker nugget. So I got a little sucker nugget, and I got Nana Poo, and then I got CJ.
Aww.
So my babies. And so, yeah, mother of 5, Nana of 3, and currently work professionally as project specialist for Corewell Health. And prior to Corewell Health, I spent 9 years working in public health with the Barron County Health Department. And prior to that, I was at the Boys and Girls Club for 8 years. Mm-hmm. So had some time under my belt with working throughout the community. I love working with families. I love supporting families, and I'm everything community, everything families. And so, yeah, that's just a little bit. Born and raised here in Benton Harbor, graduated from Benton Harbor High School. Woo-hoo.
Tiger Pride.
Class of 1990. Dating myself, but it's okay.
Not at all.
Yeah. So, yeah, born and raised and still here. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah.
Still doing the work.
Still fighting a good fight.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So, Kyna and I worked for the same organization, but just not at the same time. And boy, and I talked to her about, I think it was a couple of days ago, a little bit about how I met her. And then when we actually talked about, when she talked about what year she graduated, I was like, you graduated my brother? No, that was when we were walking.
Right.
We were walking.
Yes.
So even pre-pandemic, we were hitting the track for exercising every morning at 6 o'clock a.m. And we were walking around the track that day, and you were like, I'm class of 1990. I said, no, you ain't. She said, yes, I am. And then I told her who my brother was. She was like, girl, that's my classmate. And I feel like really those walks established a sisterhood for us. So it's only natural that we're doing this story time. So
the walks and the bike.
Yeah, the walks, the bikes.
Bike riding.
Oh my gosh, the walks and the bike riding, almost getting attacked by a couple dogs. But we won't tell that story today. Y'all don't want to hear that one.
Because I thought I was going to come out of retirement.
Okay, Kyna. So we talked about the theme for today is Black women navigating these white spaces. And it's been, you said that it's literally like even in this community, it's been tough. So, girl, where do you even want to begin?
Oh, wow. I'm just thinking, because it has been tough. And first of all, just would like to thank you for just even providing this opportunity, right? And just asking the question, where do I want to begin? First, I think should begin by giving thanks to all the people that has gone before me, mm-hmm. that has had to navigate the spaces especially with showing up as a Black woman navigating the spaces, workspaces. So, yes, thanks to our ancestors and all the shoulders of the many great women, shoulders that we stand on today. And then again, right back at you for just even having the courage to have a podcast to allow people to have a platform to share their stories. So
Thank you, Kyna.
That's kind of where just thinking like a start should be. And then thanking like my mom for her tenacity and perseverance, which I'm living through her. So.
Who is the cutest. I got to meet her when you did Pecha Kucha. I was like, this is your mom. Okay, Kyna. Because you've transitioned through, as you stated before, it's been a multiple organizations. So can you tell me the story of just even what it was like being the only in a white space?
Ooh, the only. It was very, very challenging because my initial start with being the only Black woman in management with the health department. My journey didn't initially start with me being in a management role. I started initially off as a case manager, working in a program, working with pregnant and parenting teams. And I knew right off with working with families that I wanted to ensure that I provided something that I didn't have. As a teenager, I wasn't a teen mom, but the population that I was working with was a teen population. And there was a lot of things that I did not have as a teenager. So I wanted to try to make sure that I provided all those things that I did not have. But early on, I saw that going from working at the Boys and Girls Club to now working in public health, I saw that it was a different arena. And right off, I noticed in our leadership teams that there was not representation that resembled me. So that was something that I saw right off. And then I knew coming into I was going to say organization, thinking about the Boys and Girls Club, but coming into public health, I knew right off whatever goals or metrics that was required to meet, that I was going to double that. So right off, I set the stage that I was going to push myself twice as hard as anyone there.
So when we think about even with me, because I said I picked this color literally before I walked out the houses, can you tell us a story of when you came home after a long day and you really thought like, I need more of me in the room because I can't continue to carry all that on my back?
Ooh, which story? I just got to make sure it's a story that. No. So your question, can I think of a story? That was kind of like the stories all the time when I would come home that I would say to myself. Because, again, I didn't see myself in rooms. And there was programs and services that was being delivered and decisions that was being made, and there was not representation. So that was something that I always carried in my mind, just like, wow, there's not anyone that represents the population in which we're serving.
And it's like, why that population for you? Like to really put it out there, like this is the reason why. I know you speak of I wanted something that I didn't have, but I really think that those young people that are still trying to utilize the services are still looking for those services. But it's like, why that particular population? Because I don't think a lot of people really understand. It's like, well, why them?
Because if you're looking at or talking about our educational system, our judicial system, our healthcare system, you continuously see the same population that have different outcomes as any other nationality. And so I wanted to try to ensure that I was able to provide some type of additional support and guidance. So, yeah, I knew just right off that it was needed.
So when we think about even navigating these spaces as a Black woman, when do you get the courage to leave, or are you pushed out?
Both and.
Mm-hmm.
Both and. Wow. This last, I would say like the last 7 months of my professional career was hell.
Mm-hmm.
It was hell because I felt and knew that I was being pushed out, but at the same time I was pushing back in to try to stay,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to stay not because of leadership or not because of a title, but I wanted to stay because I knew the programs and services that I directly supervised was making a huge impact, right? In the community, was making a huge impact in people's lives. And I would, if I'm in a store, I would see families that I had some interaction or some type of work that we done together or did together, some type of project, and I just knew it was bigger than me. It was bigger than me, and so I was trying to stay so that I can continue to support the families that we were serving, and then also my team. Mm-hmm. You know, mm-hmm. I was fortunate to have a dynamic team that worked alongside me with doing the work, and I get emotional sometimes just thinking about it because that team, there was a special bond. Mm-hmm. There was a special bond, and it was just hard. It was just very hard to think about leaving the team, thinking about leaving the work, and it was more than just me leaving. It was knowing that things was going to be done very differently, in a way that I think would lead to elimination of some of the services, because there was so much pushback that I was receiving, not just me, but the team also, and the others too, was receiving about the work that needed to happen, and that was happening.
Do you think that being in those type of spaces, did it affect your health?
Oh my goodness, yes. So let me back up a little bit. So like I said, I was there in my current role for 9 years, and I remember like the start of my employment, and even in my 5th year, sometimes I would be the first one there and the last one to leave. I loved going to work. I would often tell people that I was employed by this department, but I worked for the people.
The community.
That was my thing. That was my thing, and I love going to work, right? I love providing the support because it was, again, so many things that I think I did not have as a teenager, right? That is so important going into adulthood. And then just having that same population that I was able to work with, me and the team, to make an impact, in my mind, that was significant. That was huge. That was like, life-changing for me. And so I initially loved going to work. And then it came to a point there right after COVID. COVID, things changed so much. And even with the time with working during COVID, that was high stress, but it was part of a healthy stress for me, because I can work like high performing. But once we had a huge change in administration, I started to notice different things, and it started to have an impact on me. As far as my health, I was very emotional. I started to be tired all the time. Then I went through this phase from being tired all the time to not sleeping, and yeah, that was very scary for me.
So how do you explain to the people that are looking up to you of why you left? Because I'm gonna bring it back. So think about that one. Because I was thinking about just even for myself seeing change in leadership and how you may have had someone championing for you in the very beginning, and then there's a leadership change and you're like, I don't even feel like coming to work no more. So how do you explain to those people that, they're like, well, is everything going to be okay? And they're also saying like, I have to choose me. I gotta choose me.
So that's multi-layered.
It is.
So can you repeat your first?
Yeah. So what is that conversation like with even the young people that you worked with that you were leaving?
What was that? What did that conversation look like?
Yeah. Because, I don't know if they really understand, like, oh, changes have been made, and for myself, I got to choose me.
So that was hard. That was hard.
Mm-hmm.
Talking to the young folks that I had worked with, not just the young folks, but just even the partners.
Mm-hmm.
I was very fortunate to have worked with some awesome community partners. So had to say that.
Yeah.
I had to say that.
Yeah.
But they understood.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They understood because I had worked with some of our families for so long that they knew that if I was leaving, that it had to be something
mm-hmm. that
was very challenging, and they wanted the best for me, right?
Yeah.
Even the people that I had worked with throughout the community, right? That kind of knew some things was happening within the health department as the changes was happening. They were still championing for, Kyna, you need to do what's best for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then the flip part of that is now being gone, right? And I was saying, like, some people knew what was kind of going on internally, but still the same things are happening, right?
Yeah.
And so that part is very, very hard, because it's like, this is something that continuously happened, historically. This is not something that is an isolated thing or things that has happened. This is something that historically Black women, Black and brown families, Black and brown people have gone through, especially working in public health, working in healthcare systems, and just working trying to be employed in our country.
Mm-hmm.
This is not anything new that we continue to face. I say challenges in the workspace and place. Yeah.
So I'm thinking about, because I'm so pushed back if I need to. When I initially met Kyna, it was a school board meeting, and I had on a T-shirt from the place I was working at the time, and the directive was, I need you to be over there, but don't ask any questions. What? Like, huh? So be over there in your shirt. Don't ask any questions. We just want to have a presence there. Well, why aren't you going? That was my question. Well, why isn't everyone going? Why are you sending just the 2 Black people over there? I mean, there was more Black people that worked there, but it's like, why are you sending us over there And then we can't say anything about a high school that we graduated from. So I said something to Kyna on the way out, and I said, yeah, we were told to come over and not say anything. And she said, all right, sounds about right. Okay, nice meeting you tonight. I was like, oh. Like, she knows something. And now at this time, I didn't know that she had went through similar situations as myself working at the same organization. But that's the beautiful thing of leadership changing. But that was also an opportunity for me to, because Kyna actually spoke up at that school board meeting, and it was like, why was I even being told to hold back? Why was I trying to hold back? But those situations or those instances happen often. So can you even speak to that? Because I just feel like sometimes it's like, I need you to be in the room to be seen and not heard. I need you to be on mute.
Wow. See, now me and RJ is friends. We are friends, Ronnika. That's a
it
big,
is. That's why I was like,
task.
It was a lot of one.
That happens quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
That happens quite a bit. I've seen that you have organizations that want to come off to community as if they are a part of the community and they care about what happens and with the community, right? And so a lot of times if we work for these organizations, sometimes they'll ask us to go to places to represent, right? But again, don't say anything was the directive that you was given, but your presence is needed.
Yeah.
But here you can't say anything. And so that's something, is it that our faces are needed, but then we can't. Well, I'm talking. I'm saying, but I know that there has been and currently is situations that that happens. Will go representing our organization, but then you can't say anything, or you have to tread very lightly into what you do say.
Ooh, girl.
Yeah, I remember, at that school board meeting, speaking, and then I was there talking about our young folk and how we can support and the services and the supports that was needed for our young babies.
Yeah. Kyna, what is this story that you have been you really need to tell? Like, think about it. Like, I got notes, you got notes. But there is something deep down inside of you that you're like, you know what? I got to get it out.
That's it. Pull, RJ, pull. Because you know me, pull. So, catching the flame before it burns out. Catch the flame before it burns out. Navigating these spaces as a Black woman, I have been, what I need to get out, I've been called angry, the angry Black woman. I worked over one time and someone was like, "Oh, are you the housekeeper?"
No.
I worked over and I was called the housekeeper. I was mistaken for, and there's nothing wrong with
nothing wrong just with the assumption.
So what I want to get out is we have every right to occupy any space that we're in. We have the right to occupy it. We have the knowledge, we have the education, we have the experience to occupy any space that we're in. And I want to get out that I would like to see more sisterhood. Also sharing on my journey that I had a lot of support from people that did not look like me. I will say that.
Yeah.
I had a lot of support from people that did not look like me. Also, I would say, as a community, as people, I think we have a due diligence to each other, to support each other, to support our community. We talk about the village. I often hear, and I know this has been a theme probably throughout you doing different podcasts, just talking about like the village mentality that we once held in the community. I just think it is so important for us to look at, what does that look like? Is that something that we can get back to a place that we care about each other, that we support each other, both personally and professionally? Because again, like what I went through in my last profession, the ending of my last profession, it was hell. It was hell.
Do you find yourself just trying to, because it's whenever you start a new job, it's like, okay, this is a fresh start. It's a fresh start. So what are some things that you like, you know what, I'm going to do differently? I'm not going to go in it the same way I did the last two jobs.
I would never give an organization what I gave my previous organization of myself. Never. It's important to make, in saying, I love the role that I'm in right now, but I'm going to ensure that I'm taking care of me, that I'm having a healthy balance, a work-life balance, which is something that I did not have in my previous role. And a big part of it is the way things started is definitely now not how it ended. And so, yeah, that's something that I'm going to ensure that I do, and make sure that I take care of me.
It's been like such a theme, and a theme that you have been, I refuse to say preaching because sometimes that can come off as negative, but that you have been telling me that I need to do is just, you know what, put yourself first. Because we went through the same thing, as you give your all to an organization. I'm not even saying here, it's other places. You know, being the only black girl in the geography class, being the only black girl in the history class, being the only black in an organization. And then when you perform at such a high level, it's like, well, now she thinks she's better than. It's like, okay. But yeah, I think we haven't really touched on that. It's like when you excel in those spaces, and I don't even want to say the backlash, but sometimes it is the backlash, but the response or the reaction to you performing at such a high level, or even your team performing at such a high level. Like, hello. Because I mean, I saw the programming. I saw the programming.
So, yes, performing at a high level. And again, I often say I did not go into that role in a managerial position. You know, I started as a case manager, and my team, we worked at a high level. If it required, we knew right off, if they said that we needed to have 25 moms and dads in the program, we was going to get 45. We really planned out the activities and services that we would provide. It was not just like a checkbox. Like we got to get this, check off the box. We really tried to be strategic and methodical about the services and the supports that we delivered. And we really worked so hard to build relationships. And so that allowed us to have a unique leverage that other programs and services don't have or did not have, because a lot of things was just, we're checking off this box, this list. Oh, done, 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 done. We had this meeting done. So there was a lot of intentionality that went behind the work that we did and the services that we provided, the meetings, the relationships with the community partners. All of that was important. It was just like not a given, oh, they just need to attend the meeting. I was intentional. We was intentional about, even if it was an icebreaker, even just making sure that we tried to level set and just making sure that partners had a clear understanding of what our ask was, and then we had a clear understanding of what their expectations were of us. And a lot of times we operate and assume that, oh, okay, so can you come to my meeting? That you have an idea of what's happening or what the ask is. And then there's a lot of times meetings that happen, just a meeting just for the sake of saying, oh, we met.
I hate those.
So, and I often say, I think it was different for me working in professional spaces, and I think a big part of that was because of being a single mother, right? Raising kids, understanding and knowing what the struggle is, right?
Yeah.
And having such a direct connection with that, and then also being aware, right, of my Blackness in spaces, with understanding my father, who lived to be 86 when he passed. He was born in 1927, right? And so I also shared some of his lived experiences. Being born in the South, was pushed out of the South at the age of 13. Right? And then my mom, who my father was 20 years older than my mother, but just even seeing some of the things that she had experienced as far as racism, structural racism, and just understanding that whole dynamic. So, yeah.
You said something about checking boxes, and when I tell you I thought I was going to just come out of my skin, I did, because it's a lot of just like, okay, well, we did this, on to the next. And it's like, what was the long-term impact of what we just did?
The sad part about it is a lot of the work that happens in our community with organizations, especially that, I should say, and I'm going to speak from what I've experienced and what I've seen, with dealing with Black and brown families. A lot of the services and supports have been just a check the box thing. And so, again, I can go back to, if you look at whether you're talking about the judicial system, the education system, or our healthcare system, that check the box philosophy leans into why you continuously see the same people, right, that's not getting a fair shake. You see the highest infant mortality. You see high incarceration. And how could that be with all the services and all the supports and all the resources that we have to provide? What's happening? What's happening? Do that push us to look deeper at what's happening? And until we start to look and address some things that is happening and some things that has happened, right? Historically and currently, we're going to continuously have the same conversations over and over and over again as it relates to our Black and brown people, whether it's how do I navigate a workspace as a Black woman, whether I'm looking at the judicial system and why my brothers don't get the same sentence for the same crimes as their counterparts, right? It's the continuous same cycle, and that's something else in itself that played a huge part in. Earlier you talked about like health, right? And my health. Just seeing and knowing that on a continuous basis, you're taking that stuff in, and it has the ability to affect your health. Because all the time, just seeing that you don't land in a good space every day. But I'm thankful for so many people that I have had in my life, like Q, and I'm not going to start naming people because then you'll forget somebody. But
yeah,
there are so many people that I have had to pour into me, that have supported me, that has helped me through this journey and currently in this journey.
So did you have an exit interview?
So, no.
Okay.
But I wrote an exit letter because I figured that I would not have an exit interview. And what that process even looked like, they'll send you something in the mail and then you fill it out.
Okay.
So that is what the exit interview.
So I think I want to do one with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Because when I left, I said I want this to be available to whomever wants to look at my file. Yeah. I want them to be able to read this exit interview. And I said, with my departure, I said, you are working in a community that you're servicing mostly Black and brown kids. I'm going to need some representation in the administration office, like ASAP. And the first person they hired was LaToya. And I said, okay, we're moving in the right direction. It's like, now we seeing more in administration. So what would be your exit interview from? It could be from any job, or it could be just from the last one. But what is your exit interview when it comes to, if you're not listening to me then, you're going to listen to me now, that this is the vision that I have for when I'm leaving, when I'm this Black woman leaving this white space, that's predominantly white space. What would that exit interview look like for you?
Not bleep, 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 bleep.
No. No curse words.
No, not at all. Not at all. But an exit interview really, so that is a deep question. And I'm going to say, let you know why. Mm-hmm. Because the exit interview, who actually are you passing that information on to? You're passing that information on to, for me, people that has been a part of the whole process that led up to you making the exit, right? So for me, I stood in my truth. And I said, I see you. I see you guys. I see the system. I know what has happened. And I shared, I'm not leaving because of you. I'm leaving because of me. I care more about myself than to continue in an atmosphere that is this toxic. And it should not be this toxic. So those were some of the things that I left them with. What will they do with that? I don't know, right? But I had to be okay with not making that part of my problem or making that problematic for me, because I understood who was doing the exit interview. or the lack of, or who was going to read the response that I sent, that I wrote, was the very people that was aware of everything that's happening. And that, again, goes back to being part of the first and the only. When you start to look at administrations, right? And when you start to look at HRs and start to see who holds seats.
Boards too.
Exactly. Exactly. And elected officials. Right? Because even in that role, right, you're talking about a health department that reported to the commissioners, when it would seem that health departments would report to the Board of Health, right? The health professionals, right? And so, saying all that to say, I very well understood what they thought probably the importance of an exit interview was. It didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It didn't mean anything, but also for me, an exit interview was me thinking about all the families that I was fortunate to have the opportunity to work with, to help to make an impact. It's things like that I have to say and see what else is true, right?
The fact that you just said that, it made me just, so many things had connected in my head. Because when I did my exit interview, I called a board member and I said, it's done. I need everybody on the board to read it. Now, did things happen overnight? Nope. Did I jump forward and do some things where I was like, it's not moving fast enough? We talked about this too, like, it's not moving fast enough. I got to say something. But I think that, and it's so great that you gave that perspective, is like, well, why would I do one? So now there's two different perspectives of why you should or you should not. But I never thought about it that way. Like, I'm giving this to the people that sent me through the most hell.
And no, but as soon as I'm saying that and hearing what your exit interview, oh my goodness, I love that. I love that. The courage in itself that it took for you to even do it, right? In that fashion, because another thing, right? This is Berrien County, and everything is interconnected.
Yeah.
And they, you know, the circles, right?
Oh my gosh, yes they are.
The circles, right?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
And so that's scary in itself. It can be. It can be. And I kid you not, RJ, one thing that, and this is daily for me, that I'm trying to be in a healthy space and place where I can live my truth. And we often get into where we hear buzzwords, and one of the words, and it has been a buzzword, but resiliency. That is not just a buzzword for me. Having to know that I was resilient, that I am resilient. The having the ability to bounce back, knowing that so many others before me did it, and still that's doing it. During my time with working too, I want to share this quick. Once I started really seeing, oh my God, this is what happens in public health. It was two women that had been there, Black women, for over 20 years. And I remember bringing them flowers to work. And they was like, what is this for? I said, thank you for staying, because you're showing me and the physical that I can too. So being resilient and having others that is still doing the work, that's still staying, was encouragement to me to let me know that I could. Yeah. That I could too.
Why do I feel like that was your final thought? Kyna, because we could sit up here all day, and we'll probably go somewhere after this, I'm sure. But why did you say yes to even this topic today?
For one, I'll say yes to anything for you, but no, I said yes to this topic because I know that there's so many Black women, brown women that have had trouble with navigating spaces that was not created and designed for us to be in, right? And I came on to say that you can, I can, we will continue to navigate spaces that was not created and designed for us, and we will create spaces and opportunities for us to navigate for our kids, for our grandkids. We have to. And then also coming on to say thank you for all those that understand that those spaces are hard for us to navigate, and those spaces was not even created for us to be in. Thanking our allies that we have had and have that support us continuously on this journey.
For the people that still celebrate us and call us rock stars, even when we just feel like
I'm just rocking at this point. I don't know if I'm a star, but I'm still in here. I'm just here. And and you know what? I gotta say, like, my perspective, going through that, I understand how to go through some things now. That showed me a lot. It really showed me a lot. That points back to self-care, that points back to me being able to be okay with me. Because I'm going to tell you something. A lot of times I question me in those spaces because I always felt like, I knew there was a meeting before the meeting, right? And I had to try to make sure that I'm triple prepared.
Yes.
And at the end, before I left, one of my staff that did not look like me left. And she came back to visit me. And she looked at me and she said, "Why are you still here?" And I said, "Well, I'm still trying to do, and I want to make sure." She said, "Why are you still here?" I said, "Well, I know what you think is going on, and yes, that's still going on, but I got a plan. I'm going to do." She said, "It don't matter what you plan. You're not wanted." She said, "And that's good because you're better than even being here." She said, "I'm going to give you a week to get the heck out of here." And when she said that, I'm like, wow. She didn't look like me. I was a supervisor for some years. And I know that she had saw what was happening. I know that she had heard different things. But when she told me that I wasn't wanted, and she said, "It don't matter what you do." It didn't matter that I had never been late on a report. It didn't matter that my team was a high-performing, high-functioning team. It didn't matter that the state was advocating for me to stay and was advocating and saying that the programs that I ran that they had not had that type of leadership, none of that mattered in the end. All those things that I prided myself on, that I thought would make up a good leader, being supportive, being caring, being timely, right? Making sure that I went, I'm telling you, above and beyond. Anything that I did, I knew that if whoever my supervisors, whoever my direct report was, that I was going to make sure that me and my team went above and beyond. And I had to look at that. Was that fair for me? Was that fair for my team? But it happened. It happened. And so that's another reason why I would never give an organization as much as I gave myself, because in the end, I felt so betrayed. I felt, oh my goodness, I felt so lost. I started to go down a dark path. And started to question myself and my ability, right? And I'm like, okay, I know this stuff.
Imposter syndrome will kick in like that.
Yes, and that happened, and it was real. It was real. The microaggressions, the you people, and I'm like, we're saying that in this you people.
2023.
And I'm like, and this is public health. This is okay.
Yeah.
This is okay.
Yeah.
But this is not isolated to Berrien County.
No.
This is not. And that's one of the things that's so sad. This is not isolated. If we want to make change with our educational system, our judicial system, our healthcare system, until we start looking at and calling out systemic and structural racism as the bedrock, we're going to continuously end up in the same positions, having some of the same outcomes. That don't stop me from doing any of the work that I'm going to continue to do, right?
Yeah.
We got to start calling things out or calling things in, right?
Kyna, that was really good.
Yeah.
Really good. So, y'all, because Kyna, I'm telling you, I have to, we're going to keep going. But, Kyna, thank you. Just even from the first time that we were even on a panel together, I was like, this lady here, because there's even been a couple panels that I've even had feedback from people. They like, I want to hear more from her. She has a story. So this is just a little bit.
It is.
It's just a little bit.
It is just a little bit. And just being honest, I've had several people, that panel was like, hey, you really wasn't talking. Hey. And, which was true. But I can say, like, a part of that was to talk is to tell an ugly truth. And I question so many times, are people really ready to hear the truth? And that's heavy in itself, right? I want to see change happen. I don't want what I experienced. I don't want someone else to experience that. Black, brown, green, purple, yellow, nobody should have to experience that. No one should have to be treated less than in a professional setting. You come into a meeting and the person that's sitting next to you intentionally turn their chair and don't look at you during the whole meeting. No one should have to experience those things. Mm-hmm. But it happens. And when you look at leadership, the makeup across our country, right? Just different offices. When you look at like our court system or our courthouse, when you look at the makeup of leadership, or, you know, who sits on the benches, right? When you look at the CEOs, right? The boards. That's a story in itself. Why do we continuously have the same outcomes? Do you believe it's because we don't have good nurses that aren't skilled, that aren't trained? Do you think that we have judges that sit on the bench that have had all this education and trainings? It has to be something deeper that's happening. Mm-hmm. It has to be. When you look at there being a 20-year life difference, right?
Yeah.
When from a Benton Harbor resident and a St. Joe.
I think it's 6781. I think I think so. I think that's the number because, you know, Lynn, don't get us. I think it's 67 for Benton Harbor is the life expectancy, and I think it's 81 for St. Joseph.
But the 20-year difference,
it's
right?
Crazy. Yeah.
What's happening, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at, and I don't know the proximity, the distance between like Benton Harbor and the divide.
Oh, I was about to say it's 4 miles.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Right?
It's 4 miles, yeah.
What is it? That's 20 years? When you look at I think I was talking to my cousin yesterday, and he was talking about the schools, and he was talking about St. Joe's School, and he was just saying, and I forgot where he was saying the school ranked.
It's I
want to say he said 47.
It's high up there.
Yeah.
Right.
Until we start caring about everybody.
Yeah.
Want everybody to win, right?
But some work to do.
Yeah, we have work to do. Unless we're strategic about the work that we're doing, strategic and methodical about the work that needs to happen, because the resources are plentiful. The resources are there. It's something deeper that's happening. That's why, again, on the boards, the CEOs, our systems, they don't represent a diverse population. And you should want to have a diverse population representation, right? So that you can have different perspectives brought in, right? We don't want just one perspective continuously being amplified. We want to unify this. We want to have multi perspectives brought in, different cultures, different ideas. I would be crazy to think that I have all the answers.
Hello? But they say you don't want to be the smartest person at the table.
Well, sometimes
you want to learn from some other people.
No, I'm just saying. But yeah.
But no, I get that. Because I'm like, am I? How are we going to get this work done?
Yeah, because sometimes, I always tease myself. Sometimes I can get on the little bus and just drive my own self off. I'm like, okay, did you just do that?
Kyna. Oh Oh my gosh. Man. Ooh. So, cause y'all, like I said, oh my gosh, it just turned over to an hour. Okay, so child, we gonna wrap this up because we gonna mess around in part 2.
Yes.
I'm like, don't tempt me with a good time. But again, you all, Kyna, thank you.
Thank you, Ronnika. Thank you.
Ooh, because it's almost like I saw you starting to. I was like, oh yeah, yes. No, but thank you just for your because I know a couple of us we're like, Kyna's like our big sister, like for real. Kyna's our big sister. For Kyna to call and say like, hey, we gotta take care of you because she knows what it is to be a black woman and navigating certain spaces. So I'm just saying. So also when she's talking about sisterhood, that sisterhood of looking out for each other. And I do lastly want to say that when we talk about being black women navigating especially white spaces, that you find allies that don't look like you. I love that you brought that up because it's like it's so many that I've encountered, and I'm having coffee with one of them tomorrow. But Kyna, again, thank you. You can find Kyna, you can follow her on Facebook, but of course I'll have that in the show notes. And you're charged with infant mortality. You've been on a couple panels even this past month. Like she about to be really booked and busy, but she's busy, but she's going to be really booked and busy.
I hope so.
I'm just saying. So, again, thank you for coming and having this space as we talk about being black women navigating those white spaces for the month of August. So this is it for this theme for this month. The beautiful thing is that this episode, again, will air on September 5th. Which would have been my father's 74th birthday. So, because I'm always honoring and trying to think of him, actually, I'm wearing his wedding band today. So, yeah, just continue to pay it forward. And when you see someone that doesn't look like you, just try to bring someone along that does. Until next time, I am your homegirl, Ronnika. This is my girl, Kyna. And we will see you next time.
Thank you for those opportunities. Yay! Thank you.